Hi, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What do you hate?
The Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, I hear it's lovely down there.
Yeah, though these weird people next door, they get really turned on when you talk about it, and it just kind of fucks me up.
Oh, I could see that could be a problem. You don't by chance happen to live next door to the Addams family?
Too legit, I do.
Uh,
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family. Their house is a museum. When people come to see 'em, they really are a scream. The Addams Family.
Neat. Sweet.
So we watched The Addams Family. Here's something I wasn't aware of with this movie. I was looking it up today. There's animated Addams Family movies.
mm-hmm. Yeah, my nephew is a big fan of those. Prefers those. But he is like 5, so that makes sense.
What, he doesn't like the weird sadomasochistic kink play of,
he's
of the 1991
Weirdly
feature?
enough, kids aren't into Raul Julia being horny the way they used to.
I loved it when I was 11.
I mean, that makes sense because it's sort of like you're starting to enter, puberty, and it's that level of just absurdity. So why not?
I remembered how horny this movie was, but I guess I didn't really remember how horny this movie was because this is a horny fucking movie.
Yeah, I like it opens when you see they have a clock that's in the shape of the house, and when the bell rings, a little animated Pugsley pulls a string, causing bells to ring. But then an animated or little clockwork Gomez and Morticia come out, and instead of kissing, she leans backward and he leans forward to kiss her boobs.
Yep.
And I don't think I ever really picked that up until now about man, those two were just horny as hell.
Just kissing on them clock titties.
Yeah.
Though you were slightly mistaken here. It opens with them pouring some kind of hot tar on carolers.
Right, yes.
Which, that is a bold opening to a movie.
Yes. Very much right from the gate being look, they're going to murder other people and each other, but nothing matters. It's all fun. No one's actually hurt.
Yes. I think the main question I have with this movie is just the inexplicable lack of Tim Burton. It looks like Tim Burton. It feels like Tim Burton, but Tim Burton has absolutely nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he was at the time busy filming Batman Returns, so he couldn't be a part of it. But definitely has some Tim Burton-y feeling to it. But I'm glad it's not fully him, because I think part of Barry Sonnenfeld direction helps sell this. That the sort of kinetic camera moves and stuff like that, and I think he has a better sense for that kind of stuff than Tim Burton, particularly at that stage of Tim Burton's career.
Yeah. Tim Burton's doing the new Addams Family, right? Like the Wednesday show?
He has something to do with that, yeah.
The other thing the big takeaway from this movie is, so I haven't seen this in, probably 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And since then, I've played a lot of Addams Family pinball based on this movie. And the amount of sound cues that happened in this movie were ridiculous. Of just oh, that's from the pinball machine. Which, I mean, obviously it's not. It's the pinball machine.
Right.
The sound clips from the movie.
Oh, they made a movie of the pinball machine?
But it was just every time it happened, I was like, oh, wow, that's from the pinball machine.
Yeah.
Keep the ball. I have a whole bucket full.
Because I only really remember the Mamushka soundbite because it was in Junkyard. They just, for whatever reason, threw it into that game too. I didn't. I haven't played much of regular Addams Family pinball much.
Yeah, it's a wonderful game. You should play it next time you see it.
So I have heard, and I did enjoy this movie. So all the more reason to.
On that note, this movie, I don't know. I can't think of another movie that held up as well as this one. This is not flawless, but I mean, it's as good as it was in 91. I was very, very happy with this.
Yeah, I think my only sort of sense of boredom came from the fact that I'd seen it so many times, and I kind of knew the bits, but it was still nice to revisit it. Because I haven't seen it. I watched Addams Family Values not that long ago, and that one's great. But yeah, this one I was impressed. It lags a little bit in places, but I like the whole idea behind it. I just recently watched Rob Zombie's The Munsters remake, and it is. I'll probably talk about it a little bit on a solo pod thing, but like it is very just sincerely an episode of The Munsters, and that's great, man. But it didn't do it for me. I'm not really angry about it, but I like that this one. It's like, well, let's take the core of the Addams Family, which is essentially a series of New Yorker cartoons by Charles Addams. We had a big coffee table book of them when I was growing up, so I've read a bunch of them. Like the whole gag of Uncle Knick-Knack came from like an Addams Family one. That's or, Charles Addams cartoon. There wasn't an Addams Family cartoon, but and then of course there was the TV show or whatever. And that I liked when they updated the way that they did this, and similarly the Brady Bunch movie, where it's here are these really bizarre people that are just encapsulated in this strange world, but then here's the rest of the world reacting to them. And the rest of the world isn't as weird as them. And I like that I think this very successfully does that without being like, look at these fish out of water. It's more just like a clash of cultures kind of thing that I thought still is pretty funny.
Yeah, no, a lot of jokes land. I think the writing's super crisp. I really enjoyed the introduction of his Tully, Carla's husband. I can't think of his,
Dan Hedaya is the actor.
Yeah, Carla's husband.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you didn't recommend, or I'm sorry, you didn't reference Alien Resurrection.
I didn't think of it. I should have though.
That's the right one, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Alien I don't remember if it's Resurrection or To the Third Power.
It's Alien. It's the fourth one, whatever the fourth one is.
Yeah, sure, Resurrection. But
sure.
I love that introduction of him going to the house and just the frenetic pacing of like he walks in the house and now he's in a sword fight. And, yeah, it's super fun.
And how he's very disheveled and arguing with his wife, and clearly broke or whatever. And then here's this absolute goofball just having the time of his life without a care in the world. Already sort of juxtaposing the reality versus Adam's land.
And another kind of Breaking Bad type thing where his own hubris of not asking Gomez for a loan sends him down a path that eventually leads to his death.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I honestly don't remember. Whatever, we'll get to it when we get to it. I'm like, wait, how does this all wrap up? Because I'm also confusing it with the Addams Family game, Super Nintendo game that I remember playing as a kid. I'm like, don't they jump on a judge's head in the? No, wait, no, that's not real. That's a video game.
I've never played that. I played Fester's Quest.
I had a friend that had Fester's Quest, but he could only play Nintendo on a black and white TV, and so it was like because you could get those gun icons. If you got a blue gun, it would make your gun more powerful, but if you got a red one, it would make it less powerful. So he's like, I have no idea. I'm just grabbing guns and then just hopefully it works. Because that's what you think of when you think of Fester. Guns. But
yeah, it's a 1-to-1. I mean, there
fighting
is
aliens.
A gun in this movie.
Yes. And some swords. Swords.
Yeah, swords are fine. Swords feel like they fit in. Yeah, so, I mean, it all moves pretty quick to start with. So we introduce Dan Hedaya, we get the sword fight. We get really little snippets of the family, kind of get the vibe of everybody going on. And then really quickly, we're introduced to Dan Hedaya's loan shark, Mrs. Alford, and her son, Gordon, who bears a striking resemblance to the missing Fester Addams.
Yes, who went missing in the Bermuda Triangle some 20-some years ago.
Well, that's the story. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess that's proved to be true. But I mean, as far as the Addams know, that he just disappeared one day.
Right. Yeah. Well, he was lost at sea. They know. They have a portrait that says as such.
Oh, okay.
But and this was interesting. During the making of the movie, it was not clear when they started filming. It was unclear about whether or not Gordon was going to remain an imposter or it actually turned out to be Fester. And I guess the cast really wanted it to be Fester and had used Christina Ricci as their spokesperson.
Oh, nice.
She was 10 at the time, but they're like, I don't want to say anything. Send the kid to do it. And she gave this very impassioned defense about why it should be Fester. And I think it worked. I think it's great that it is.
Yeah, I would have found it annoying if that wasn't actually Fester.
Yeah, because it provides a nice like pull to the whole thing too, of like him sort of becoming Fester and embracing the Addams, that the inner Addams in him that throughout, rather than just being like, no, these guys are great, we should all try to be like them.
Yeah. What do you think that house smells like?
Oh, not good. Definitely musty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like old stew. I mean, they keep it a decent home. Like it's not falling apart or anything. It's just creepily dilapidated.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely like a mausoleum kind of old is what it smells like.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, kind of rotting vegetable matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we go. I mean, we pretty much just go to the séance, where every year on a certain date they try to summon the soul of Fester to communicate with them. Another Addams Family pinball line here. Welcome, honored guests. It's
what happens? Is it just when you start the game it does that, or?
I think so. Yeah. Or maybe it's when you get an extra ball. But anyway, yeah, and they have a great seance sequence. Lurch is playing the organ, really, creepily or whatever. And we have the big return of Fester. Shows up at their doorstep.
Yeah, Fester is of course played by Christopher Lloyd, and I think just through and through the casting in this movie is so great, and really helps it from being too tiresome. Because so many of the jokes are just like, hey, you know that thing that you think is bad? They think it's good. And it's kind of that over and over and over again. But like just the zeal of I just called him Raoul Duke, of Raul Julia, and like he's just eating it all up, and it's so much fun to watch. And then Christopher Lloyd's way into it too, and Angelica Houston I really liked a lot more this time around. Like I kind of never really thought much about Morticia, not that she was a bad character or anything like that, but I really like it. I guess she went through a lot of hell in doing like the outfit and her makeup, like put a lot of stress on her body, I guess.
Yeah, apparently she had to wear like a metal corset, which disallowed her from like sitting down or doing
breathing.
Any of the things that you want to do as a person.
Yeah, it's a neat, like, yeah, it certainly has the desired effect. It looks great, but yeah, it does not seem comfortable at all.
Yeah, and they're saying that she had to like tape her eyes up to get the Morticia Addams style eyes, which now like I can't remember what eyes actually look like. Like in my head, they're Morticia Addams eyes.
Yeah, I mean they're not like wildly different, but I mean just watch Royal Tenenbaums and you'll see they're less like that and less made up.
Yeah, I also kind of forgot. Not that they look old, but I kind of forgot how old Gomez and Morticia are in this. Like they, I don't know, because they're like sexy and vibrant. Like kind of in my head, I put them like, I don't know, 30 something.
Yeah.
Like just but they're
they're the original Jim and Pam.
The Office.
Yeah, which is just like the Addams Family, if you think about it. Please don't. Moving on.
Nah, I mean that's 1-to-1. I guess Dwight would be Lurch, and that's the only other character name I know. So there goes that bit.
Yep. But it all works. That's the important thing.
Steve Carell is Dan Hedaya. First time that sentence has ever been said.
Steve Carell is Dan Hedaya in a role that will surprise you. But yeah, so because I mean, like a lot of this, there's just a lot of little jokes that happen throughout the plot. I mean, there's these big building blocks, but they're just like, oh, here's time for a fun little gag. And I feel like those are pretty pell-mell, but they don't bother me. I don't find them like overwhelming. There's just like a lot of little chuckles, I think, throughout it. Yeah,
it's fun like that. They don't hang hats on a lot of them, so you can kind of ignore it if it annoys you.
Yeah.
There was a good one that I liked where Pugsley walks in on with a stop sign. And then they all just pause and celebrate when you hear a car accident outside.
Yeah.
Fun. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, fun little stuff. And particularly like when Fester starts getting more Addamsy and starts hanging out with the kids more. I really enjoyed that section, and there was a lot of like just stupid little gags in there, but it was still fun to watch. And again, I think so much of it is the performances are great, and yeah, it's funny to watch. Like I do think Christina Ricci in general is a good actress, and it's funny to watch her at age 10 versus the kid playing Pugsley, and be like, oh yeah, child actors, they're wildly different.
Well, the kid playing Pugsley didn't last in acting very. Like
No.
I think he's a Teamster now.
Yeah.
I was looking up.
Yeah, and he is not that great. They didn't give him a lot to do, but there might be a reason for that. But I think Christina Ricci was very good.
Yes, it was as a dark-haired gothy guy with like a giant forehead. I really felt a lot of kinship with her at the time. We're also around here introduced to the Addams vault. He brings Fester down, and they have like a film strip that shows the story of their fight, basically. Them being young, and then how Gomez apparently fucked a couple of conjoined twins that Fester was interested in, and that's what caused Fester to leave.
Yeah, because they each loved one of them, and then Gomez took both for himself. And I like that stupid little throwaway joke about like, you could have had any woman you wanted, and it's him like sticking his finger in her ear and like digging around in there for something. Yeah. There's just stupid stuff like that throughout it. And I love the house and how they get to the vault. It's needlessly stupid, but it's very much in the spirit of this movie, where you have to like pull on the right thing, the right chain that'll open up the floor. So you slide down this tornado slide, all while this really annoying song is playing. And then like you end up in this big moat that you have to take a boat over to where the vault is. And even then, like the vault is just like a room, and you have to pull out like a brandy snifter to get actually where the money is. Pointless. I loved it.
That's a very Tim Burton sequence right there.
Yeah. And I think I honestly wonder like how much this movie owes a debt to his previous works. Just that like, in the same way, like we've talked about before, how like, you can look at some older movies, like there's one, Dreamscape, about entering people's dreams, and half the movie is them trying to explain the concept of entering people's dreams. Whereas now you can go in 5 minutes, like, I have this machine that'll enter people's dreams. Okay, go. It feels like, it's in the pop culture thing enough. And so I feel like you're familiar with some of the framework of this stuff with, Beetlejuice and some of the other kind of zeitgeist that was happening. When I say zeitgeist, like it was a huge movement, but some of the more groundwork had been laid. So people are more like, oh, okay, I kind of know what this is. And this is the fun version of some of this.
Yeah. And it definitely is fun. We get the first kind of hints that Gomez is picking up that he might not be Fester, because he doesn't remember his combination to the lock, and etc.
Yeah, doesn't remember. Like he thinks. Yeah, he just gets a bunch of trivia that is very important to Gomez wrong, and I like that they can tell that it's bothering Gomez because he's playing with his trains, and it's again just like a very silly thing, but he's all pissed off. And the way that Sonnenfeld puts it together is just, these electric locomotives are just zooming past the camera with big train sounds, and he eventually crashes them because he's so upset. But it becomes this little action sequence, and I love it. It just, rather than have him go like, I'm not so sure about this, they turn it into this whole bizarre other thing.
I also love that they randomly cut to the inside of the train. There's just a guy sitting in there.
Yeah. Because there's a little bit of horror in there. I had, there's some writer, I'm forgetting who now, that used them as the example of like the difference between horror and spooky. Like Addams Family is spooky. Like it's all like the kind of trappings of, here's some spiders and a jack-o'-lantern or something, but nothing's going to harm you. And nothing is really, there's no discussion of trauma or any of that stuff. Whereas horror is like, we all are suffering and are going to die.
I'm more of a spooky guy these days, so hooray for the Addamses.
Yeah, which I saw a montage of stuff today, interviews with Jamie Lee Curtis. She says trauma instead of trauma.
Really?
Yeah, because she's talking about like interviews and the different Halloweens she's been a part of. It's like, it's the trauma you've been. It's like it's a very like long aw sound, so it sounds like trauma.
Maybe she's just really into Lloyd Kaufman.
Could be. Who isn't?
There's also a nice sequence around the spot where Wednesday and Pugsley are playing together, and she talks him into sitting on an electric chair. And it is one of those, like, oh, what do you think's going to happen? Whoops, that's the other thing. But I really liked Angelica Houston's performance, where she's like, oh, we don't have time for it. We have to go to wherever the hell we're going to. She's like, oh, come on, Mom. Can I please electrocute him? She's like, oh, well, all right then. And then just kind of like stares over, just like, oh, cool. Please electrocute my child to death.
Well, and I think that's really, I think that makes all this work is how much they all like love each other. Even though like it is the like, oh, you think it's bad, it's actually good. Where, when Gomez is at the beginning is extolling the virtues of Fester, and Dan Hedaya tries to chime in with what he thinks he should say. Things like, oh, so good with children and kind to animals. And, Gomez is like, they never proved anything. That like, it's there's darkly comic stuff to it, but it's all just like, no, this family loves being a family and loves being together. Despite like, Wednesday and Pugsley are going to try to kill each other, but it's for the best.
Yeah. I mean, but those beg the question, are they like some kind of immortal? Like how...
No, there was someone I know. I think my friend Corin watched Addams Family with his kids, and anyway, a friend of mine watched Addams Family with his kids, and they couldn't. It was driving them nuts because it's never explained. Like, are they like Draculas? Why? And it's just no. Don't worry about it. They're Addams. That's all you need to know.
Well, I was worried about it.
Yeah, because also like is the old woman Addams? Is that Angelica Houston's mom? I know she calls her Mama.
According to the IMDb trivia, in the comics and in this, that character was both Morticia's mom and Gomez's mom, like separately. Like it's just there's just an old lady character.
Right? Yeah.
I think this one is Morticia's mom. Yeah. I think is the way it works.
Okay, because they specifically because Gomez specifically mentions mom and dad in the Mamushka song, among other things. And there's not like a cut to her acknowledging like, that's me.
There's a very important scene here where they go to an auction and they're auctioning off a pair of finger cuffs. And Morticia and Gomez start bidding on it to the point that they come. And not since Chasing Amy has Chinese finger cuffs been so sexual.
Well, what I like about that too,
that's a scene.
Yeah, is that like, cause it escalates to this fever pitch because they're, just the combat between them or something. And just the horrified onlook of everyone else because Gomez and Morticia are just horny at the expense of everything else.
Yeah. And you can almost hear her finish. Like it's and this is like essentially like a children's movie. So it's
everything she does just turns Gomez on. Every little thing she does is magic. That song was written about Gomez Addams.
I always expected, but I'm glad we finally got the answer to that.
Mm-hmm. So all this time, Fester, otherwise known as Gordon to his quote-unquote mother, they show up. He shows up as long-lost Fester, and she comes with him as Dr. Pinderschloss, his therapist, because he got so messed up down there. He's readjusting to society. So he's learning to kind of deal with the Addams, and she's also pressuring him from the outside to go find the vault because that's where the money is. And they really need to get that money. And so all this while he's trying to do that, he doesn't really want to deal with the Addams family. He's just sort of tolerating them. But then as Gomez starts to figure it out, he has a meeting with Dr. Pinderschloss, sets up like a fake therapy appointment with him, basically to just try to assuage him and be like, no, he's your brother. Like, listen to him. Let him have the vault, let him at the vault. And Gomez has clearly figured it out. And Fester's overhearing this, but then he sees Wednesday and Pugsley acting out some scene from a play and fighting with swords. And he just loses his mind about it because Wednesday's death is so bad. And he's like, no, that's not how you do it. And so he really starts bonding with them about how to properly slaughter someone in a play. And you starting to get the first sense of his inner Addams arising.
Bonding over bloodshed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're practicing for a play, and there's the Addams family go to the children's school wherein Morticia meets with the teacher. And she's like, I'm very concerned with Wednesday's art here. And Wednesday's drawn a very dark picture of Aunt Calpurnia, who was burned as a witch. And it's one of the great interactions of just the Addams world meeting the normal world. And the teacher just being like, oh, that's That's nice. Oh, she's that. Yeah, that must have hurt. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I also like that the other kids, because the whole thing is like drawing your heroes, and the other kids have like chosen like George and Barbara Bush, and you know,
Yes.
she's like, "Have you talked to their parents? Are they okay?" Which is still, you know, you could put any politician there; it's still funny. Put Clinton in there, and it's great. But yeah, I think some of that works so well is because like neither side really gives on it. There's not like, well, okay, I guess you're fine. Everyone just is uncomfortable around everyone else, but they just soldier on all the same. And it's the same thing because like they're sitting and all the other students, or a bunch of the other students anyway, are singing "Getting to Know You" is the song, and of course the family is not having it. They're bored as heck, but the parents are enjoying it. But then yeah, Wednesday and Pugsley are about to perform. Fester has said he's not going to show up. He's not going to come because he's going to stay and try to find the vault, basically. And at the last minute changes his mind and gives Pugsley and Wednesday a bunch of gear so they can bleed on stage. And boy, do they. I had forgotten how bloody that thing is and how really, really funny it is.
They really commit to it. Like the whole front row is Gallagher level covered. It's really fun.
Yeah, it just the spray like never stops as Christina Ricci does her prolonged death thing. She cuts off Pugsley's arm, and it's kind of surprising that they let that be in a movie. But you know, I guess the idea is like, well, they're not hurt. You know it's fake, so it's fine. But it's a lot of blood to flow from a 10-year-old in a movie.
Yeah, especially one that's rated PG or whatever.
But they do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live.
True. Shortly after this, Morticia and Gomez fuck in a graveyard. Mm-hmm. There's no real plot purpose. They just go to the graveyard and fuck.
Yeah, just another chance to see them be horny for each other. And they're both very beautiful people, so why not? That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with it. I just find it amusing just how horny this movie is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really spent a lot of time with like to the point that you think like, oh, it's going to be a plot point or something. No, it's just they really love each other and are insanely horny for each other. That's pretty much it.
I mean, it's nice. It's a good relationship.
Yeah. Still going after all these years.
Yeah. So it's decided that Gordon stroke Fester is going to leave the house. They're going to have a going away party. And it's like this big setup. It's a to-do. And the party takes place in their, antechamber. And you get antechamber's the wrong word, but I couldn't think of anything right there. You get a cavalcade of Addams-y people. Like there's a hunchback that's dancing with Wednesday very awkwardly. Like,
yes,
essentially just swinging back and forth and breaking her spine a bit.
You're just throwing around. And he kind of looks like, at first glance, I mean, I know it's not because the age would not be probably, but he kind of looks like David Dastmalchian, if I'm saying that right. The guy that was like Polka Dot Man. Because there's something about the nose and the teeth that was very like, you could see him being like made up to play that character. Because I know he likes horror stuff. He hosted the Fangoria's Chainsaw Awards, just like Dr. Ghoulish or something.
Oh, really?
To that effect, yeah. He's a good sport with that stuff.
Yeah, he was on Doug Love's movies. He seems like a good guy.
Nice. But yeah, all the different characters that we see are just fantastic. Just the weirdos. There's not like, I don't think any of them are too like over the top grotesque. I feel like if this was a Tim Burton thing, they might have pushed that a little further. But I like how a lot of them are just like the hunchback guys. Yeah, he's got this big hunchback, but he's still just like walking normally and just kind of has a weird haircut. And I think it balances that. Yeah, these are freakish weirdos, but they're not all, these grotesques, with the exception of Cousin It. But
yeah, well, we see Cousin It roll up in some weird 2-seater, strange ass car with like a
Eastern
pod
Bloc
lid.
business. Yeah,
which I quite like, and I like how Cousin It just kind of starts macking on Tully's wife
immediately, and but it's also like. He's listening. Like that's what's great. It's not this thing where all of a sudden like, oh, he's this like sexually Lothario. No, because he actually just like is infatuated with her and listens to what she says, and then she enjoys talking to him, and he gives some insightful feedback, even though you can't tell anything he says. And so I like that he's not like a stereotypical pimp in that way. He's genuinely in love with this woman.
What do you think he looks like under all that hair?
I don't know. I think that's it. I don't think he has
just hair all the way down.
I mean, like in Addams Family Values, they have a baby named What? So there's a tiny baby. So there's something going on down there. But yeah, I don't know. Because I was thinking, like, how does he go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Very carefully is the answer.
It's like the same as the Bigfoot problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Also, sorry, wait. Interrupting you there. The most important thing about Cousin Itt showing up, he's listening to MC Hammer when he rolls up.
He is listening to MC Hammer. And there's a part earlier where, like, they're driving down the street, like, in their creepy old car that Lurch is driving. And, like, makes the way the soundtrack plays it makes it sound like they're listening to MC Hammer as well.
Yes.
That I like that they're all creepy and ooky, but you know what I love? I love the Hammer.
All the audience at home, we should probably explain this. When this movie came out, this and the next one, they had MC Hammer on the soundtrack. And MC Hammer was a rap hip-hop artist from the early 90s, very clean, kind of Christian rap. And he did the Addams Family rap, and he had a famous song, Too Legit to Quit. But there was like, too legit to quit. So for this was Too Legit, the Addams Family. Too legit. Yeah. It's the same song, you just throw Addams Family in.
Yeah,
so anyway, that's what John and I keep referencing, this fucking weirdo you've never heard of.
Yeah. Because he famously, like, got rich and blew all his money, and allegedly tried to have third base killed.
Really?
And I listened to some interview with MC Search on like the Ed Lover show or something, where he was talking about like how when they were in, I think, Kansas City or something like that, like MC Hammer tried to arrange it so that they were killed by gang members.
Holy shit.
Because they gave him the gas face and he did not appreciate it. I don't know. You'd have to ask MC Search about that. Who's coming on the show next week? I wish. That would be great.
Is that just going to be your cat?
Yeah. My cat's got the big glasses.
MC Surge. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, it's a very strange choice to have MC Hammer be on there. That seems just like one of those studio things. Like, well, we got Hammer, let's have him rap.
During the party, there's this big dance sequence, the Mamushka, which brings up the question. So in the original cut of the movie, or the original version of the movie, whatever you want to say, it was left up in the air whether or not Gordon was actually Fester. Mm-hmm. I feel like the fact that he immediately picked up all the moves to the Mamushka is like the first like really concrete, oh no, that actually is Fester. So I wonder if in the first draft of the movie that it was supposed to be more up in the air, whether that scene played out differently.
Could be, because there were a lot of rewrites as well. Like a lot of people were involved with it, including like Paul Rudnick gets a lot of credit for it because he did a bunch of the extensive rewrites and wrote Addams Family Values as well. But there were other people that wrote on as well. And yeah, apparently there was a lot of change that happened. There was a lot of stress during filming, including like caused Raul Julia to like blow a vessel in his eye, and they had to shut down filming till he got better. And then like Sonnenfeld got sick, or stuff as well. The director of photography quit. It was a troubled production, but they still managed to make something decent out of it, which is fascinating. Fortunately, Sonnenfeld himself is an accomplished cinematographer. He did some Coen Brothers movies, including, I believe, Raising Arizona.
Oh, no shit. All right.
Yeah, so he was cinematographer on Raising Arizona and Blood Simple as well, and Miller's Crossing, and Big. But yeah, I like this, the Mamushka thing. I like the idea of the Mamushka almost as magical ritual that in doing that, like, awakens within Fester his inner Addams. Because apparently the Mamushka is this dance. It was taught to them by their Cossack cousins, they say, but it's this dance that they all the Addams apparently know. And then Fester kind of is confused by what's going on at first, but then picks up on it, and really, like, this is the point that he's absolutely fallen in love with these creepy and kooky bunch.
Altogether ooky.
Yes, and I like the guilt trip that his mom puts on him at that, because his quote unquote mom, Dr. Pinderschloss, is like, oh no, I just carried you for 9 months, but yeah, no, go have fun with the Addams.
Growing up as an East Coast Catholic, I am very familiar with that level of guilt.
Mm-hmm. But she's very much like, okay, you're getting too far into this. We gotta go get that vault. And
gotta get that vault.
Give me that vault. And then, like, also at this time, like, Wednesday has gone running off because she has encountered Dr. Pinderschloss and Fester, like, talking about trying to get into the vault, and she figures out that no, you're not Fester, and she runs away, and they realize that they can't figure out where she is. And they find her sleeping in a graveyard.
A very adorable scene.
Yeah.
They arrive back at the house and they see that there's a restraining order turns out that dastardly Tully figured out that since Fester's the oldest, he actually owns all the shit. And he gets them booted from their very Addams Family mansion.
Yes, because with the aid of their neighbor, Judge Womack, who Gomez has been hitting golf balls into his house for...
Keep the ball! I have a whole bucket full!
For years, apparently. So he's very excited to help. And yeah, so Fester's back in control of the Addams... and in control of the Addams fortune. And I like this moment a lot because they're destitute. And this could have been like, that all could have happened in the first 15 minutes or something like that. You know, the first half hour of the movie, and then we get this. And I like how they wait until now, to really decent ways into the movie to have. So the Addams family is now kicked out and is forced to be in the outside world. And instead of that being the bulk of the movie, it's just a fun little sequence in this where like they're all staying at a hotel. And I like Thing, the disembodied hand of Thing, like giving Gomez a scalp massage while he just broods.
That was fun.
And he does nothing but sit around all day eating and watching Sally Jesse Raphael.
That is one of my favorite scenes in this, where Sally Jesse is doing a show on witchcraft. He's like, anybody call in? He's like, Gomez, is that you again? I'm telling you, once again, I don't know where they meet. It's such a dumb joke.
Because it's, just his reaction is so great because he's still so excited to be like, okay, how about now? Fine. Like, I don't know. And then, there's just a bunch of other little bits. Everyone tries to chip in and help. The kids are trying to sell potions or whatever, and we get introduced.
Well, that's the kids selling potions is the biggest line from this movie that I remember, from the first time watching it, is the preppy girl going, is it made from real lemons? Because I only drink organic or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if I buy that, you have to buy a thing of my Girl Scout cookies. And Wednesday's blank-faced, are they made from real Girl Scouts?
Yeah.
Oh, God, when I was 11, that joke fucking slayed.
Yep. And it's funny because that Girl Scout girl comes back in the second one, and that's Family Values. And so, they're like, man, she really sold those Girl Scout cookies. Let's bring her back. She was so good. Well,
that's like a real actress now. Not that she wasn't before, but I mean, she's like a working actress. She's like famous. I don't remember her name though.
I'm curious myself, so I'm going to look that up. But
there's also a great, while you're looking it up, there's a great line in here where Morticia is trying to find a job. She's like, well, what are your skills? Oh, spells and hexes. And the lady responds, oh, liberal arts.
Yes.
Good joke.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of like old style comedy in this that I like. I mean, some of that stems from the fact that these cartoons were written in like, the 50s and stuff like that. But they're still, I like that they stayed true to that without, there's at no point is it making fun of this stuff. It's like, isn't this kind of corny or whatever? It is genuine about it. And I like that a lot. But I also like, I had forgotten that they recast Grandmama. Going back to her, that it's Carol Kane in the second one.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'm like, oh yeah, Carol Kane, and there's nothing against Judith Malina who played Grandma on this one. She's fine, but it's just like, man, Carol Kane is so good in that part. But I just really like Carol Kane. But anyway, so they're all trying to do their part, and then all the while, Gordon and his mom are trying to get the vault. Can't seem to do it, and I like that Morticia goes to talk to Fester. And again, like, it's not this is a very genuine thing. Like, I'm going to try to reason with you and speak to the love of your brother. There's no like tricks or, let's use all of our creepy underhandedness or something like that. No, it's just like, I'm going to go tell Fester how much we love him and how much he loves us, in the hopes that he'll relent and let us back in there. And, they respond by tying her to a rack and trying to torture her. They're the real monsters.
Oh, by the way, so the Girl Scout, she didn't turn out to be someone super famous, but she ended up being a regular in Buffy. That's Mercedes from Buffy.
Never saw it. I've only seen parts of the first season.
Big thing in my life.
Oh, that's interesting.
So maybe you could have like put some effort in and watched it, so you and I could finally bond over something.
Nope, never. Got to keep you at arm's length. Can't get too close. Rule number 3, never fall in love.
Yeah, again. So she's tied to the rack, and shockingly, I don't think she minds too much.
There's a fun little bit about that. And then
there's
finally,
a good gag with Thing trying to signal to Gomez what's happening. It's like this sign language, followed by thing trying to write, followed by thing doing Morse code. It's very like, I don't know, old school kind of Poconos comedy.
Yeah, well, because at one point, because Thing is trying to sign to him the stuff, and Gomez is like, I can't stand it when you stutter. And it's the idea of someone doing sign language stuttering is absurd. I also like, I complained during Thor Ragnarok about there being a fucking Old Spice ad in the middle of it, and that there's clearly this FedEx ad in the middle of this one. But they still manage, I think, to work it into the plot a little bit better.
Funnier scene, yeah.
Yeah, Thing gets a job, whereas they're all trying to lend a hand, literally. Thing gets a job, like, delivering FedEx packages in a wagon in an office. And it's a thing, because you think about it for 2 seconds, like, well, how did he get hired? Because no one's excited to see him. They're all terrified by a disembodied hand moving very quickly. And I love that he's just walking on his 2 little fingers, very quickly hauling this wagon. But yeah, he's just throwing a bunch of FedEx branded boxes around. I'm sorry, they were still Federal Express at the time. But yeah, that didn't bother me as much because I thought it was a funny bit. But yeah, so
on the Thing note though, I might be just smoking crack, but I swear Thing is right-handed and then left-handed in some scenes.
Could be. I always think he's right-handed, but I am right-handed myself, so maybe that's just wish fulfillment.
One in there. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you just dream of a world where you're accepted.
I'm right-handed.
Yeah, whatever. It's not about that anymore.
And I'm not a thing, John. I'm a boy, a human boy, made out of meat like you.
But yeah, so Gomez realizes Morticia's in trouble, rushes to her aid, and it's here that Fester makes a stand and figures out, no, I'm an Addams. I'm gonna turn the tables on these these money grubbers.
And he does so by opening the book that is labeled Hurricane Irene, which sends Dan Hedaya and Dolores Umbridge through the windows and into open graves, which Pugsley and Wednesday are standing by, ready to bury them. It's like, are they dead? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so good.
It's wonderful. But then all is well.
Oh, on the Gomez rescuing note, he does a front flip through the window to get into the house. It just reminded me, we skipped in the Mamushka scene. There is the worst stand-ins when they're juggling knives.
Oh, yeah.
It is, the guy is 30 years younger than Raul Julia. The Fester one's not as bad because he could put him in a bunch of makeup, but the Raul Julia one is
it's very much not
apparent.
Raul Julia.
So if anybody's watching this after listening to the episode, you're like, oh shit, I haven't seen this movie forever. Pay attention to that scene. They're on for like seconds at a time. You're like, oh, that is 100% a 30 years younger than Raul Julia man.
So all's well, and then, Morticia reveals that she's probably pregnant. She holds up a 3-legged little onesie she's been knitting. The Addams Family, they're great. They do what they want to do, say, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
And yeah, this isn't like the most amazing movie, but it's fun. It's just a fun little Saturday afternoon thing, and I think it's spryly written, or it's spryly directed, I should say. Some of the jokes are a little tired, but I think the directing and the performances help carry it along. I love everyone in this movie. I think they're all very great.
Except for Pugsley, which you dunked on earlier.
Well, yeah. I like him for sucking at his job. That's what I like. He makes everyone else look better.
That's fair enough. The end of the movie, though, another of the classic lines that I have quoted a million times in my life is, oh, what are you dressed as? It's like, oh, I'm dressed as a homicidal maniac. They look just like everybody else. That was my costume on more than one Halloween. That is a line that has stayed with me. I love me some Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, very much so. And it's funny to me because, this movie came out at a time when I was, about that age. Just like what a baby she is watching this now.
Yes.
And yeah, you put enough time between it. It's like, oh yeah, I was a small thing too.
I had such a crush on her at the time because Christina Ricci is like almost exactly my age.
Oh yeah.
And I remember having such a crush on her. And sometimes I'll go back and watch a movie that I had a crush on, when at the time when it was appropriate. And I have a vague worry that I'm like, oh, am I still going to have some of that? Yeah. But, going back to this, oh no, she is like a fucking straight up child, because in my head, she's my age a little bit. But then, going back and watching now, I'm like, oh my God, no, she's like a wee little baby.
Well, in the second one, when she goes off to camp and has, they're both a little bit older and they get sent off to summer camp and she has kind of a fledgling relationship with a young boy. It's much more of my experience watching this is much more of I remember being young. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's that kind of nostalgic thing rather than being like, oh God, am I going to be some kind of creep? That it's still like, I'm still carrying a torch for Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not, because I mean, obviously, like not in like a creepy way, but in a like, emotionally stunted.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
like, nope, you just look like a child. I want to take care of you.
Yeah.
I'm having fatherly instinct towards you.
Yeah, I would hope that I have changed somewhat in the last 30 years, but probably not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can say that I haven't really changed that much. I'm still, essentially a man baby. Mm-hmm. I think this movie is terrific. Well worth watching. I think it holds up really, really well. Holds up better than really it has any right to. I think the writing's terrific. If you want hacky, fun, old school comedy, vaudeville kind of style jokes, which I think works really well. It looks great. The special effects hold up. Other than that one golf ball shot.
Oh yeah.
And a couple of thing moves, everything else looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and the going back to talk about the Munsters thing, and like the difference with this is that I think I don't want to dog on the Munsters too much, because it's an amazing looking movie anyway. But like, because it's all this like insular universe, it's like, well, if you're not that stoked on it, you're just gonna be there. But I think the fact that you do have their insular stuff, which can be funny, but then when you have the outside people dealing with it as well, I think adds a level of comedy to it. It's a little bit easier to swallow than just them going like, huh? You know how you don't like murder? I do like murder. But when you get like a third party being like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Then I think that works a lot better.
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement. Everybody should watch The Addams Family.
Yeah, it's still fun. I mean, like I said, I'm curious how kids these days, with not only their hair but their clothes, how they would feel about it. But
oh, don't even get me started on their music.
Yeah, how about some flavored coffee? But they, I've heard like mixed things. Like I said, my 5-year-old nephew prefers. I don't think he disliked the movie. He just likes cartoons because cartoons are great. But I still think this one's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I wonder if the cartoons are like any good.
Yeah, I don't know. I am going to doubt it. Just because I'm a grouch.
So recommendations for you got any recommendations? Watch anything good?
Well, I started. It's October, so I'm starting a big horror watching, and oh boy, big news! I have long contended on this show that actors like Billy Crudup and Mary Elizabeth Winstead were bellwethers for movies where I would like them in it, but I would not like the movie. And that is gone now, because Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in Final Destination 3, and I enjoyed that. Not enough to like wholeheartedly recommend. I like the first two better, or the second one in particular better, but I was just happy to see that cycle being broken. And she's great in it. Like she is much better than the movie deserves, but she's fantastic. So that one's been good. And then I've been watching mostly just schlocky stuff. So nothing like super amazing, but I did get a neat box set from Severin Films, House of Psychotic Women, that goes along with the book from Kayla Janice, if I'm saying that name right, that did the All Haunts Are Ours. I'm getting the name of the box set confused with the Compendium of Folk Horror that Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched is the the documentary she did about folk horror that's really good. And so this was another thing she put together based on a reprinted book, The House of Psychotic Women, about just what the title implies, movies with that kind of thing in her own experiences. But that box set includes some never before heard of movies, new to me anyway, like I Like Bats, which was some strange Polish movie about a vampire falling in love, and some Identikit with a really unhinged Elizabeth Taylor. So that's been a lot of fun to check out. Yeah. How about yourself?
Nice. I have been on a drought of things. I can recommend Mushishi.
That's a nice comfort watch.
I've watched that before, but it's an anime that's good and kind of soothing. The only kind of modern thing I'm watching that I'm enjoying is the Great British Bake Off.
I was going to say Bake
new
Off.
Season.
Yeah,
is delightful. But the surprise hit for me is Andor, the new Star Wars show.
I've been hearing that's good. Like people like begrudgingly going, Yeah, it's good.
That's where I'm coming from. Where I'm pretty Star Warsed out. I didn't watch the Legends or whatever that one was, where they had like the anime one and all that shit. Like I didn't. I'm just kind of I'm good with Star Wars a little bit, but boy, like I was like, I'll give it a chance, and like it snagged me pretty hard. Like I'm actually actively looking forward to the next episode.
And it is a like prequel to Rogue One, right? It's the same.
Yeah.
It's Diego Luna's character, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I mean, I liked him all right, and I like that, as we talked about in our Rogue One episode, like that it's this alternate side of Star Wars that they just don't do enough with, because everything's got to be about the goddamn Skywalkers.
Yeah, it's so far it's refreshingly free of any kind of Sith or Jedi. There's pretty brutal murder that happens. There's heavily implied sex, like, you know, people make out, and you know, it's like, which is rare for a Star Wars movie. Like it's like kind of it's almost like it's made for grown-ups.
Oh, that's cool. Speaking of heavily implied, are you still watching House of Dragon, or did you watch House of Dragon at all?
I watched the first episode. I was a little too violent for me because I was like, you know, pretty anxious at the time. And then thinking about it and how little anybody's talking about it, I was like, do I really want to even pick this show back up since like no one seems to give a shit? And because there's just been a big time jump, and I'm kind of curious to go back and recheck it out. Although the reason I say implied is there was a big brouhaha this week of much like towards the end of Game of Thrones, where there's like a whole bunch of scenes of people like, I can't tell what's going on here. This is just way too dark. And I encountered that a little bit in an earlier episode, and it was simply my TV, because I turned it on my computer. I'm like, oh, I can see this all perfectly. And so I fixed my TV. But, yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard too much about it, but I had, like, one of the main characters I did not realize was in Ready Player One, who was the horribly disfigured girl that had a slight birthmark on her face. And the movie acted like, oh my God. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's still ongoing. Once the first season's all wrapped up, I'll go back and check it out, but I've not been that into it.
That's somewhat where I'm at, where once the season's done, I may just kind of put it on in the background while I'm doing other stuff. But, you know, no one seems to be talking about it, so I don't really feel like the kind of urge to watch it.
Yeah, I'm not making it appointment television, as it were. But
yeah,
maybe I think I'll do the same with Andor, because I've been curious about it, but I think I'll just wait until it plays out. I
mean, so far, I think you would like it. And I'm saying that from I know how much you hate everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough to make me interested in it, and I'm the same way. Like you, I'm pretty Star Wars out.
But I'm sure at some point fucking Ahsoka's going to show up, or like a Mandalorian, and it's going to start sucking. But for now, it's good.
Yeah, they can't help themselves. It's going to happen. But enjoy it while you can, you know. And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. But yeah, I don't think I've watched anything else good recently. Just a lot of garbage.
Yeah, I've been watching Rings of Power, which is just aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, so I've been hearing that as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not the world's biggest Lord of the Rings guy, so I haven't even bothered.
So speaking of segues, what do you want to watch for next time, John?
Well, it is still the horror month, and we are still keeping it light and out of sight, and we're going to do stay in the horror comedy realm and do Tucker and Dale versus Evil with Alan Tudyk and other people. I've never seen it. I have heard good things.
I've not seen it either, which is rare for the show, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but it should be a lot of fun. It can be a tough thing to try to balance that. There's a lot of really bad horror comedies out there, but I like the concept well enough anyway. And like I said, Alan Tudyk is always good, regardless of how much I don't like the thing he's in.
Yeah,
so.
Alan Tudyk kind of is what sold me on wanting to watch it, because I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I know it's a little gory in places. I think. I mean, it might, like, just little bits I've seen. It might be even worse. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll see, but it'll be fun.
All right, so we're gonna watch Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and Tucker and Dale, whatever. Who cares? You know what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's Tucker Carlson and Dale Earnhardt.
Yes, our call to action for next time. I want all of you right now to go to the thing you're listening to this on, the Google Podcast, your Apple.
This is me doing that. I'm doing that right now.
iTunes thing, and I want you to subscribe to This May Hurt a Bit, John's other podcast.
I know. I'm on that podcast.
You should subscribe. Yes, download it. And then delete all those and listen to a good podcast, Whiz Biz with Alex and Eric.
What? No! Oh, betrayal.
So I want you to download and subscribe those. John and I both have other podcast projects going on, so you should do that because they're both pretty good. Well, I've heard one of John's, but I enjoyed it.
That's all it takes. But yeah, and if you've listened to our Dune episode, that our guest on that one, Eric, joins Alex on Whiz Biz, and it's a very fun show and made me want to or start to get back into Adventure Time slowly. I've only watched the first couple episodes, but it's a good show. I kept meaning to go back to it, and I just never have. And this gave me the strength.
It's a rare show that keeps getting better as it goes. So, Whiz Biz with Alex and Eric, and This May Hurt a Bit. That's your homework assignment. Yeah,
go do that, and then do other stuff too, like and subscribe and all that for this.
Yeah, help us is what we're saying. Just help us.
Yeah.
All right. See you next time.
So long.
Bye.